Part 96. Online games, I really don't want to have unlimited fusion. Author, 7 years. Chapter 952. Chapter 952 Evolution Successful. 2B Level Combat Powers. After much deliberation, it would be worthwhile to upgrade this mine of 4399 to B-level combat power. After all, the probability is 100%, and you will definitely make money without losing money. If the evolution is completed, not only will he get a personal bodyguard with B-level combat power, you can also have a wider range of pet control skills. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Returning to his rental house, Suchen immediately chose to evolve. Ding. Do you want to spend 9 million to fully evolve your pet 4399? Huh? Do you only need 9 million? I still have hundreds of thousands left, not bad, not bad, let's evolve. Ding. Evolving, evolution successful. Congratulations on your pet 4399 successfully evolving into a B-level combat pet. Its skill radar has also been successfully upgraded to B-level, giving the host the range to control the pet to 10 kilometers. Oh! It has been directly upgraded from the original 3000 meters to the current 10,000 meters. With a distance of 10,000 meters, it is basically much more convenient for Suchen to order 9527 to do anything. Even in many cases, there is no need to move. Just let 9527 find the target within 10 kilometers to solve the task. At the same time, Suchen began to check how powerful the Beige who had evolved to B-level combat power was. At the moment, he grabbed this Amina whose body shape has not changed much, holds it in your hand and looks at it carefully. On the surface, it seems that its fur color is just a little brighter. But if you look at its eyes, you can clearly see that it is very different from ordinary birds. Place. That feeling, more like a human than a bird. And he is not an ordinary person, he has the temperament of a strong man who has strong confidence in his own strength. Incredible, incredible, now I have 2 pets with B-level combat power. Now my mission and safety are greatly guaranteed. There is no need to test the actual combat effectiveness of Starling. Suchen can guess it from 9527's performance. Moreover, Starling's target is too large compared to 9527 who is a mosquito. It is not suitable for covert operations. Suchen plans to just keep it with you as your own bodyguard. Now that my pet has evolved, it's time for me to improve my own strength. Suchen sat on the edge of the bed and began to practice according to the turtle breath technique in his mind. This turtle breath technique practice method is extremely unique. It not only requires the unique breathing method and frequency, but also the use of one's own thoughts to assist. It seems that there is some kind of airflow flowing through the whole body with breathing. If the system hadn't directly instilled all the information of turtle breath technique into Suchen's mind, and automatically made him understand it. If Suchen had held a copy of turtle breath technique come to learn, I am afraid it will not be so quick and easy to start practicing directly after practicing turtle breath technique for an hour on the first night. Suchen stopped. He sat on the edge of the bed and felt it for a while, and found that there was nothing strange. There is still a whole piece of muscle on the belly. It seems, of no use. Suchen muttered secretly in his heart. However, the information in turtle breath technique shows that this technique cannot be effective in a short while. It takes years of practice and accumulation to gradually reveal its extraordinary effects. At that moment, Suchen got out of bed and played a few more games, then washed up and went to sleep. In line with the principle of keeping a low profile, Suchen played for 3 consecutive days. I even spent 20,000 yuan on a yacht trip to the beach. Online games, I really don't want to have unlimited fusion. Author, 7 years. Chapter 953. Chapter 953 F-Level Bounty Mission, playboy. 3 days later, Suchen started looking for new tasks on the task bounty platform. But what Suchen didn't know was that he had completed the 3 most difficult tasks in the F-level task list in the past few days. It caused great shock in the entire F-level killer world. Who is this person? He was actually able to complete these 3 most difficult tasks in 3 days. The third mission, the wanted criminal, which is known as the death mission, was actually able to be completed so cleanly. What is the origin of this person? Instruct the people below to pay attention to this killer with a mysterious code name. If you encounter such a person in reality, you must not provoke him, otherwise I will personally clean up the door. It seems there aren't any high-value tasks left. Suchen looked at the tasks on the task list. They are all tasks under 1.5 million, and the difficulty of the tasks is not high. Of course, this is all because the difficulty and reward amount of the 3 tasks he completed before were too high. As a result, he now looks down on these ordinary tasks. But these tasks ranked 4th to 10th were considered ordinary by Suchen. For other killers, that would be considered a difficult task. Well, the difficulty level is very simple anyway. Let's do it according to the bounty amount. Well, let's start with the 1.3 million one. Suchen set the task order rules himself. F-level reward mission, Playboy, reward amount, 1.3 million. This is currently the highest amount in the F-level task list. The Playboy's mission is a bit similar to the mission he did before for the rich second-generation Playboy. But obviously the levels are not the same. Mainly because this dude is a foreigner. Because he is handsome, tall, and his family is a foreign congressman, he is considered a swinger in his home country. Taking drugs, picking up girls, partying, racing, basically anything a swinger should do, he did it all. His father, a congressman, was so angry that he directly announced in the media that he was severing the father-son relationship with him. But this relationship is not so easy to break. This congressman's father is the only son he has. Of the other 2 sons, one died on the battlefield and the other died young. The key to leaving behind such a most unsatisfactory son is not to do anything to him. What this playboy has always said to the outside world, including to his father, is this: anyway, this old man only has a son like me. Even if he dislikes me again, the huge family property will eventually belong to me. Therefore, even if the congressman's father publicly stated that he was severing the relationship between father and son, but because of the one-generation inheritance, major banks and credit institutions are willing to lend large sums of money to this playboy to spend his days and nights. Anyway, with his father's family property as a cushion, banks and credit institutions are not afraid that he will not repay or that he cannot afford to repay. But after this guy killed someone because of drugs and drunkenness, his congressman father couldn't bear it anymore. He was directly expelled from his home country. However, although the congressman's father looks fierce, he is actually a weakling. He was expelled from his motherland to protect his only son. After all, if you kill someone, you will have to stay in jail for at least several decades. Secretly helping his son escape to another country, he could at least avoid decades of imprisonment. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, I really don't want to have unlimited fusion. Author, 7 years. Chapter 954. Chapter 954, The Mole on the Bounty Mission Platform. If you really let your unsatisfactory son stay in prison for decades, who knows if this son will still be there after your death, or whether he will be able to continue the family lineage. But the playboy, who was so stubborn, changed his appearance and came to the country where Suchen was. Here, with the money he borrowed from various sources and the money he defrauded from ladies who flattered foreign people, he once again lived a life of debauchery. Over the years, I don't know how many girls Huo has had. I don't know how many families have been destroyed. Later, because he didn't have enough money, the playboy actually started taking drugs and selling drugs again. Taking drugs and selling drugs were not a big deal in his home country. But in Suchen's country, it's the death penalty. After his father, a congressman, found out about it, he knew the matter was serious. In order to save himself from having white hair and send someone with black hair, he quickly contacted his own resources and means, pretended to be a person, and took the blame for his son. But this kind of behavior made his son even more emboldened, and he still refused to change his bad habits, and even showed signs of getting worse. However, because his father, a congressman, did have unusual methods, the police have never found any definite evidence of this guy. Then I don't know who put this information and task on the bounty platform, and put a bounty amount of 1.3 million. But this is a task that no discerning person, or an expert in the world of killers, would take on. Because, his father, a congressman, has a secret power that is extraordinary in the world of killers. This is also the reason why this task, originally ranked 4th and known as Level F, can never be completed. Because anyone who dares to take on this task will receive a mysterious warning. Anyone who dares to look for evidence of the playboy's crime, or kill him directly, will be relentlessly pursued and retaliated by mysterious forces. However, Suchen is an exception. He is basically a complete novice, having only been in the industry for a few days. There is no background or source of information in the killer world. Doing bounty missions is just to make money and save money for your own pet army. He accepted the task without hesitation. Then immediately, a mysterious call came to his cell phone. The sound is electronically synthesized. You don't need to know who I am, you just need to know, I know who you are and where you are. Give up the mission you just took on immediately, otherwise, you will have unimaginable consequences. The electronic synthetic oil is very low, with a terrifying feeling. Suchen was also a little surprised. How could he receive this call just after accepting the mission? Isn't it said that the bounty mission platform has the best measures to keep the killer's information confidential? I received this call, and I received it just after accepting the task. It was obvious that my information was leaked by the platform. Suchen's thinking was very clear. And the system's words also confirmed his conjecture. Yes, host, there is a mole on the bounty mission platform. In other words, it is the father of this playboy congressman who planted a mole on the bounty mission platform. This mission is a special mission. If you can complete it and survive the subsequent chase, you will receive additional special rewards. Online games, I really don't want to have unlimited fusion. Author, 7 years. Chapter 955. Chapter 955. This is definitely a criminal gang. Suchen raised his eyebrows slightly when he heard the system sound. It's actually a special mission. When he completed the wanted criminal mission, he was still thinking about how he would take on special missions in the future. After all, special missions can provide rewards for improving his own abilities. This is how he obtained the turtle breath technique he is currently practicing. I didn't expect that this playboy's task was actually a special task. This gave Suchen even more determination to complete it. Isn't he just a spy from a bounty platform? Brother, I have 2 B-level combat pets 9527 and 4399. How can I still be afraid of you mere mortals? At this moment, Suchen ignored the looping electronic synthesized sound coming from his cell phone. He turned off the phone directly. Then he picked up the car keys, took BAGE and 9527 and went out. He planned to complete this task within an hour. The mission. And it's not about finding evidence of this playboy's crime. It's about killing him directly. A scum like this will harm people and waste food and resources in this world. He will die early and be reborn. He, Suchen, will get rid of this kind of thing. Scumbags are also doing harm to society. Let alone foreigners who have committed such crimes in their country. As for the call just made by the ghost on the platform, Suchen didn't take it seriously at all. Whatever you do, what kind of pursuit? My brother and I have soldiers to cover up the water and the earth. By the way, let's test the combat power of his mina. With the help of the system, Suchen quickly obtained the position of this playboy. In a place by the sea in a large luxury hotel, the outdoor swimming pool of Wanfang Hotel. A party is currently taking place. Taking drugs and selling drugs, how dare you party so arrogantly? If you don't die, it's really because God has no eyes. Suchen drove the Wuling Hongguang S and came to a roadside about 8 kilometers away from Wanfang Hotel. It is rare that there is no monitoring equipment here. It belongs to an area under development, and basic 3 connections and 1 leveling are still being done. It is far away. Various excavators, bulldozers, and dump trucks were everywhere, leveling the ground. It should be the safest place in this kind of place. At that moment, he directly released 9527, relying on 4399 the Starling's radar of tens of thousands meters of control increase range. Suchen controlled 9527 very easily and flew towards the Wanfang Hotel 8,000 meters away. At the same time, over at Zhouyuanshan, because 3 murders occurred 3 times in a row, the 5 major cities in the first-tier cities, the area and the 8 major police stations all caused a sensation. Led by the city bureau, all 8 major police stations coordinated their efforts. Because Zhouyuanshan was the first person to discover this type of case and was also a police officer from a brother city, he was regarded as one of the first-tier cities. The municipal bureau, specially appointed as a special advisor, also participated in this special linkage group. The members of the group are basically the criminal investigation captains and deputy captains of major police stations. Including Zhouyuanshan and his apprentice, there are a total of 20 people. After the investigation, after systematic analysis of the 4 major cases, in just half a day, this special linkage team came up with a surprising result. Although the evidence in these cases later pointed to the same person. However, there is definitely more than one person who committed these cases. This is definitely a criminal gang. The leader of the city bureau said loudly. Online games, I really don't want to have unlimited fusion. Author, 7 years. Chapter 956. Chapter 956 Modern society does not need the chivalrous men of ancient times. All members of the special linkage team nodded in agreement. Even Zhouyuanshan deeply agreed. After all, there is no way you can explain how Suchen, a college student who had just graduated a year ago, obtained the location information of 3 deceased persons in 3 major cases in just a few days. Crucially, information about these deceased persons is extremely difficult to obtain. Even the police have not known where they are hiding for so many years. But Suchen, a college student who had just graduated a year ago, he usually didn't do any special moves or had any special experiences. He was actually able to obtain 3 extremely hidden people in a row in just 3 days. Information about the deceased? You wouldn't believe it if you said there wasn't a super team here to help Suchen. If Suchen knew about the police's analysis, he didn't know what to say. This analysis conclusion that Suchen had a team to assist in committing crimes can be said to be correct or incorrect. After all, no one would believe that there is a system in this world. It was indeed with the help of the system that Suchen was able to directly obtain the target locations of these deceased persons. But the system is not the team. It is a special existence that is higher than the team and different from the team. This kind of existence even goes beyond the cognitive scope of the entire human world. If the police really handle the case based on this analysis conclusion, they may never be able to find Suchen's so-called auxiliary team. Finally, the city bureau leader made the final summary of the meeting. Finally, I announce that this is the first joint action task force composed of the 8 major police departments in our city. We must take down this major case within a month. The leader of the city bureau glanced at the first and second leaders of the surrounding police stations with a solemn expression, and said, "I know that many of you, after reading these cases, feel that this young man named Suchen does not seem to be a treacherous person. However, our action this time is, firstly, to safeguard the dignity of the country's laws. Second, it is to maintain the dignity of our police. Modern society does not need chivalrous men from ancient times. The existence of such chivalrous people is the greatest insult and irony to our legal system and our police system. Do you understand everything?" More than 20 people responded in unison, "Understood." And just when these 20 people were united, they never dreamed that a more sensational case was happening right under their noses. Wanfang Hotel. Foreign playboy George, wearing his signature cocktail, was walking through the brightly lit dance floor, looking for his prey like an experienced cheetah. This ball, which he spent hundreds of thousands on, gathered all the rich second and third generations, and even the second and third generation officials who could be found in the super first-tier city. At the same time, in order to cater to the hobbies of these playboys, the organizers of the ball have also recruited all kinds of beauties from all over the country and even the world. These young beauties, as well as the young second and third generations, drank wine wantonly and swayed in the middle of the dance floor. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, I really don't want to have unlimited fusion. Author, 7 years. Chapter 957. Chapter 957 The Ultimate Beauty on the Dance Floor. The gorgeous lights and exciting dance music kept the atmosphere of the entire dance at its highest and hottest. All of this in front of me has completely explained to the world what it means to be drunk and wealthy, and what it means to be in a pool of wine and a forest of meat. But all this has long been familiar to Playboy George. Music, wine, etc. cannot disturb his hormones. Only those drugs, or, the most beautiful women, can really arouse his interest. Playboy George walked around the dance floor with a glass of wine in hand, but didn't find enough prey to arouse his interest, so he couldn't help but feel a little lack of interest. He rejected the beauties who took the initiative to throw themselves into his arms without any interest. After all, a veteran like him who has been among thousands of flowers has long passed the stage of being hungry and unscrupulous. Just when he was about to find some old friends and hide somewhere to smoke happy powder together, suddenly, his eyes suddenly lit up. Just in a corner of the dance floor, a wonderful figure that has never been seen before is appearing there. She danced her graceful body gently, as if she didn't care whether she could fit into the crazy dance floor, or whether her movements matched the rhythm of the music. She dances in her own world, matching her pure and charming face. It captured George's heart immediately. In his own words, at this moment, it was as if his heart was being grabbed hard by this woman. There was even a moment when he wanted to be with her forever. But, this is impossible. How could he, George, waste his whole life for a woman? Even, with such a beautiful woman in front of me. The playboy drank the wine in one gulp, and then casually placed the glass in the hand of the waiter next to him. After adjusting his clothes and hairstyle, his eyes were like a wolf's, staring closely at that graceful figure. But at this time, he suddenly discovered. It seems that other second-generation rich and second-generation officials also discovered this wonderful girl who suddenly appeared. They all gathered around him in unison. George felt unhappy in his heart. But this situation excites him even more. This shows that his vision is extremely good and has been recognized by the public. Moreover, this competitive environment made his hormones soar. This even gave him the excitement of male animals wrestling on the savannah for the right to mate. "Beauty, am I lucky enough to invite you to dance with me?" A confident and handsome second-generation rich man came up to this wonderful girl and invited her in a very gentlemanly manner with a charming voice. Of course, more than 80% of the second-generation rich and second-generation officials here, all wear the gentleman's outfit, and will simulate their voices to the most charming level that is most seductive to women. According to them, this is called the basic skill of picking up girls. It is a necessary skill for libertines like them. Unfortunately, when the rich second generation said these words and waited for the other party's response, the wonderful girl did not respond. She just raised her head under the dim light, revealing her breathtakingly beautiful face, smiled slightly, and continued. He started dancing on his own. Online games, I really don't want to have unlimited fusion. Author, 7 years. Chapter 958. Chapter 958 Son of a bitch. And when she revealed her pretty face, all the second-generation rich and second-generation officials around her couldn't help but exclaim. Even George, who was walking over, felt his heart tugged hard again. So beautiful. Simply beautiful. How could there be such a beautiful woman in this world? I, George, must capture her tonight. Whoever dares to argue with me will die. Unable to bear it, George stepped forward a few steps faster. The second-generation rich and second-generation officials who came forward to invite the beautiful girl hit the wall one after another. This made George think more highly of her. This is the arrogance that an elegant and beautiful woman should have. Only such a woman is worthy of me, George. When George was only 2 or 3 meters away from this wonderful girl, the girl seemed to sense the other person's arrival. She turned around slightly, raised her eyes, glanced over lightly, and then looked at George with a slight smile at the corner of her mouth. He hooked up, showing a charming smile that he had never seen before. This smile, under the light of the light, made people feel that he was full of charm. If it weren't for the people around him, he would have wanted to turn into a wolf and pounce on him at this moment. George was also intoxicated at this moment. He swore that since he started picking up girls when he was 7 years old, he had never felt as excited as he does now. Is she trying to seduce me? Haha, little girl, do you know that by behaving like this, you are playing with fire? I, George, am not a good person. George suppressed the strong possessiveness in his heart, walked forward, and kept an optimal distance between him and this wonderful girl, not far nor close. Then with the most standard gentleman's movements in his life, he bowed and invited this beautiful lady. I, George, may I have the honor to invite you to dance with me? The second-generation rich and second-generation officials around him were all excited. It was to see George's embarrassment when he hit a wall. After all, 7 or 8 people have gone up so far and have hit a wall. Unexpectedly, this girl, who was as proud as a golden peacock, actually smiled and said, "Why not?" when faced with George's invitation. As she said that, she was about to put her little hand into George's inviting hand. And just then, a small gray shadow suddenly passed through. The wonderful girl only had time to startle slightly, and George, who was bowing to invite her, froze in place. Then, with a pop, he fell down. Son of a bitch. Seeing this scene, the wonderful girl actually uttered a curse word in a low voice. Then she turned around and got into the crowd with great flexibility, disappearing into the sea of people. As she quickly left the place, she was greatly surprised. Even though she was so powerful, with enough skill to deal with 3 or 5 special forces by one person, she could only see a small gray shadow just now. But she had no ability to stop it. This discovery made her more and more scared the more she thought about it. But she was sure that that gray shadow, definitely not modern or ancient weapons such as bullets, but some kind of living creature. This speculation made her even more frightened. You know, she is also a killer. And she is the top F-level killer who is about to advance to D-level. Yes. She said that she had already possessed C-level skills, but she was temporarily stuck at F level in order to advance to the bounty mission platform. As long as she completed today's mission and killed Playboy George, she could be successfully promoted to D level. Online games, I really don't want to have unlimited fusion. Author, 7 years. Chapter 959. Chapter 959, Sister, I was cut off. But what she didn't expect was that something that was going very smoothly would unexpectedly show up in the middle, like Chen Yejin, who would take the lead and kill George first. Who is it? What method was used? What is that tiny gray shadow that is extremely fast? As the wonderful girl quickly left the scene, she was very surprised. Asking herself, even with her C-level combat power, it would be easy for 3 or 5 special forces. But facing the small gray shadow just now, she felt absolutely feeling powerless. In other words, if the target of the attack just now was her, then the body of the foreign playboy now would be her fate. Soon. The wonderful girl left while disguising herself skillfully. This dance floor. Bypassing the pre-detected surveillance, riding a bicycle, I soon arrived at a tea house 2 kilometers away. I walked into a very elegant room inside. The wonderful girl sat down. Opposite, there was a young woman who is slightly older than her, and has a calmer temperament than her. This young woman is also very beautiful. The two of them look about 60 or 70% similar in appearance. They seem to be sisters. Completed the task so quickly? It seems like your abilities have improved a lot, little sister. The young woman took a sip of the fragrant tea and said lightly. The wonderful girl poured herself a cup of tea, drank it in one gulp, and then said angrily, "Stop talking, you failed." Fail? The young woman then raised her head in surprise and looked at her little sister. Although the little girl in front of her is not as stable as herself in terms of acting steadily, but in terms of combat power, she is enough to crush most C-level combat killers. This kind of F-level mission should be a sure thing when the target location information of the bounty mission is known. Failure is abnormal. What's wrong? Any surprises? Got cut off. The wonderful girl said dully, and poured herself another cup of tea. She looked a little depressed. The young woman glanced at her little sister. She found that her expression was not only depressed about having her beard cut off, but also a bit, she looked frightened. This made her even more curious. Tell me about the specific situation. The young woman's voice was still light. It seemed that no matter how big the matter was, it could not cause the slightest disturbance in her heart. The wonderful girl frowned and pondered for a while before saying originally, "I have already seduced the target, and I was about to use it." Chronic poison. Unexpectedly, a small gray shadow suddenly flashed in front of my eyes, and the target fell down directly, sealing the throat with one blow. In this situation, I can only leave as soon as possible. I have no way to check the scene in detail, let alone find out the specific source of the gray shadow's attack. But looking at the direction, it seems to be coming directly from the southwest. Tiny gray shadow. This is the first time for the young woman to hear such a strange scene, and her beautiful eyebrows frowned slightly. This small gray shadow, based on your intuition, how much does it block me? The young woman continued to ask. Not even a cent, the wonderful girl answered very simply. Even now when she mentions that small gray shadow, her expression is a little frightened. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online games, I really don't want to have unlimited fusion. Author, 7 years. Chapter 960. Chapter 960, Walking Away from Hell. When the young woman heard this answer, she was finally moved. She is very aware of her little sister's fighting power. If anything, her little sister couldn't even block me from that tiny gray shadow. Even she, a top C-level combat killer, was not sure of winning and could stop the opponent's attack. In other words, 90% of the people who can execute this small gray shadow attack are B-level warriors. B-level, combat power. The young woman murmured in a low voice, with a bit of fear and desire flashing in her beautiful big eyes. As one of the rare geniuses in the killer world, B-level combat power has always been her goal. To reach B with super combat power, she can ignore most of the threats in this world. For them killers, force is freedom. The higher the force, the greater the freedom. This freedom includes personal, financial, resources, power, weight for everything. The wonderful girl sitting opposite was slightly unhappy just now. After all, she finally caught the fish, and she suddenly got it. My beard was cut off by a stranger. But now when I heard my sister suddenly say a B-level combat power, my whole body was slightly shaken. What? Sister, did you say that the person who shot that small gray shadow was a strong man with B-level combat power? The wonderful girl widened her beautiful eyes and stared at the opposite side and asked. The young woman nodded solemnly. Hiss. All of a sudden, the whole room could only hear the sound of two people sucking in cold air. Soon, became quiet. Sister, he is a B-level expert, why did he come to steal an F-level mission from me? Wouldn't it be disrespectful for such a strong man to do such a low-end task? The little sister was puzzled. The young woman gently twirled the teacup in her hand, with a deep purpose flashing in her beautiful eyes. She said meaningfully, for a long time, little sister, I have said long ago that this world is far from you. As simple as imagined. In the world of killers, the water is very deep. In this world, there are some killers who have been famous for a long time. They are extremely powerful, but they like to start from the weakest G-level tasks, just to have a perfect record. Hiss. Hearing her sister's explanation, the wonderful girl took a breath again. Her beautiful eyes widened and she exclaimed, Sister, you mean, he might be SHH. Such a strong person is indescribable. Don't let disaster come from your mouth. The young woman stretched out a finger like lightning, pressed it on the lips of the wonderful girl, and said with a solemn expression. The words of the wonderful girl were about to reach her lips, but they stopped suddenly. But the shock in her heart became more intense. She is not afraid of it no matter what. Unexpectedly, an F-level mission that was originally a sure thing would be intercepted by such a strong person. On the other hand, he actually set his sights on a task that was accepted by such a strong person. He even almost robbed the other party. The wonderful girl thought that if she really stole the other party's task, or caused even the slightest interference to the other party's task, then, with the moody and weird temper of such a strong person, she would definitely vent her anger on herself. Thinking of this, the wonderful girl broke into a cold sweat on her back. This time, she actually walked through the gate of hell. Sister, tell me, will that kind of existence do anything to me? The beautiful girl looked frightened and hesitated to speak. Online games, I really don't want to have unlimited fusion. Author, 7 years. Chapter 961. Chapter 961. The Mole's Warning. The young woman pondered for a while, thought for a while, and said, you should hide for a while and don't take on the mission yet. I think that since you can escape with all your hair and tail intact, it means that those beings have no murderous intentions towards you. In other words, I don't care about you at all. But no matter what, it's best to avoid this period of limelight and not have any contact with such beings again. The wonderful girl nodded hurriedly. On the other side, Suchen, who was sitting in his beloved Wulinghong Guangshen car, waited until 9527 returned triumphantly. Then he sat on the spacious second row of seats with his feet up and drank a Coke. While waiting for the wonderful prompt tone. It didn't take long. Ding. Congratulations on successfully completing F-level bounty mission, Playboy. Your rating for this task is perfect. Task points obtained, 5 points, your current total points, 26 points. Ding. You get the reward amount for this task, 1.4 million. Ding. Because you completed this task perfectly, you received an additional reward amount, 420,000. After getting 1.82 million in one go, Suchen happily lit a cigarette for himself. He directly smoked the talkative Starling 4399 with B-level combat power and flew to the roof of the car. But Suchen did not leave here directly. Because the real mission is not over yet. This is a special mission. Killing the Playboy is only part of the mission, and the subsequent revenge has just begun. Not long after, it only takes a cigarette. The phone rings. It's an unknown number. You actually ignored my warning and killed my guarantor. Very good. You successfully aroused my anger. Next, you will regret living in this world. After saying this, the number was hung up. Even if he dialed back, it showed that it was an empty number. Suchen put down the phone and smiled nonchalantly. He was just a spy on the bounty platform, even if he could get his information, so what? With the system to help with the aftermath, this limited information cannot be released at all. And he now has 2 B-level combat pets 9527 and 4399 with him. Even if the other party comes with an armed helicopter, he is not afraid. Not to mention just a small role on the platform. However, Suchen did not sit still or be careless. He was so confident, there must be a reason or something to rely on. What he relied on was, the system. System, tell me the location of the ghost on that platform. Suchen recited silently in his heart. Soon, a piece of information appeared in Suchen's mind. Fukan Highway is currently 15 kilometers away from the host and is approaching rapidly. Oh, there are still 15 kilometers to go, I will smoke 2 more cigarettes. Seeing the other party's position, Suchen smiled, turned on his phone, clicked on a nice short video, and started puffing away again. On the bounty mission platform, the staff were very shocked when they saw Suchen once again perfectly completing an extremely difficult F-level mission. However, because of the previous 3 consecutive perfect ratings, it is still barely acceptable. Routinely escalate this information to the regional manager. The staff is planning to fish in their spare time. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I caught an unusual piece of code on my computer. What's this? The staff followed this code to trace the pest. The more they followed, the more frightened they became.